And now it's time for another Dice Tower review with me, Robert Geistlinger.
So here we're taking a look at Paramedics Clear. Now this is a game where players are going to be working to try to sustain patients in order to get them transported to local hospitals. The game itself is played over 3 rounds, and on each round the length of your turn is going to decrease from round to round. In the first round you have 60 seconds per turn, in the second 45 seconds, and in the final round you only have 30 seconds to complete your turn. The game itself can be either controlled via an app that they've provided as a free download, or any standard timer will work. On your turn, you're going to be flipping over any backup gurneys that you have, and then you're going to be trying to sustain them. Patients need to have at least 1 token added to them on turn in order to not have them die on you that round, except for critical patients, which must be treated completely in that round. In order to sustain a patient, you are either going to be spending cards from your hand to get tokens, or you can pull tokens from your medicine cabinets. Such as here we have this guy who has poison gas, and he needs a syringe, a lung treatment, and a band-aid. We could pull a syringe right from our medicine cabinet, and that would sustain him for this round. In order to take care of this guy, we're going to need a syringe. Now a syringe is going to cost us 2 purples, and we don't have that. We're also going to need medicine, which will cost us a green. We do have that, so we could spend a green getting this. Now when you get a token, it either has to go into a medicine cabinet or right onto a patient is the only way to store them. So we could put that here. The syringe itself, we do need the purples, and as I said, we don't have, but you can at any point trade cards with the supply here at a 1-for-1. So I could trade this orange out for this purple. That's only going to get me 1 purple. We do have wilds here, which we could trade out at a 2-for-2, or 2-for-1 rather. So we could do this, and now we have these 2, which would give us a purple. So we could trade these in, get a syringe, and do this. Once you've sustained a patient fully, the tokens are added back to the supply up here, and then that person goes to the hospital. However, if at the end of a round this person had not been treated, he would go to the morgue. The patient here in the main gurney, however, if they ever go to the hospital, you will immediately draw 2 new cards. You will look at them, decide one to put in your main gurney, and then the other one will go face down in another player's empty backup gurney if one is available. Otherwise, it would be discarded. Now, another thing you can do on your turn is upgrades. But in order to do that, you must stash cards in your upgrade slot. And once you've decided a color you're putting there, you have to stick to that color. But you're free to spend them to buy upgrades, such as another medicine cabinet, which would cost you 2 cards, and you would discard them from here, and now you have another medicine cabinet. That is also worth a victory point at the end of the game. You can also buy a Medevac for 4 cards, which will then allow you to use the token to move a patient directly to the hospital. If, however, you have bought this and have not used it at the end of the game, it is worth 2 victory points. But if you use it, you can buy it again, over and over as many times as you like. The other thing that you can do is to buy for 5 cards a increase from a 5-card hand limit to a 6-card hand limit. Whenever you do sustain a patient fully, you are supposed to say transport at the table and then move them. The same way at the end of your turn, when you're done and you stop the timer, you are supposed to say clear and then hit it. If, however, you fail to say clear and stop the timer before it's over, one of your patients is immediately moved to the morgue. Another thing that you can do on your turn is if we needed, let's say we needed an orange card, you can hold up 2 cards from your hand and say, I need help stat, in which case any other player at the table can trade you that color that you're looking for the 2 cards that you are offering. Now, they're not required to do so, but it might help them out because now they will have extra cards in their hand at the beginning of their turn. Once your turn is over, you will pass the timer to the next player, and then you will do a cleanup where you could move any used tokens back to their spot, ready any patients that you've sustained but haven't transported to hospital, and then draw back up to your hand limit. The other player can take their turn during this time. Now, I've went ahead and reset everything. What I'm going to do, since a turn is only 60 seconds, is I'm going to play a quick turn just to show you how frantic everything is in the game. Now, since I'm going to be explaining what I'm doing, I'm not going to do that well, but maybe it'll give you a good idea. So I've got the timer set here for the first shift, 60 seconds. I've got my cards and I've got everything set up, and we're going to start the timer.
Rescue squad confirm and depart.
Okay, so I'm going to flip over my backup gurney and see that I've got a guy mauled by a dog. I'm going to need a needle for him, and I'm going to need some medicine. I have a green. I'm going to turn it in for this. Now, that's going to take care of him, and I'm going to call for transport. Now, it's a backup gurney, so I don't replace him. Now, I'm going to do this poison gas guy who needs a lung, which I already have available here. He needs a syringe, which I don't have, but I am going to trade out, well, I need a Band-Aid, so we'll do a red for the Band-Aid, and we'll do a syringe. I will trade out these 2 cards for this, giving me the 2 I need. I will pop this out, call for a transport, draw 2 new cards. I decide to keep this guy and put this guy here. However, I've got a problem, and that guy's going to die anyway, so I'm going to call for clear. Now, because I wasn't able to sustain him by getting a token on him, he is going to go to the morgue. So it wasn't the best choice for us, in which case I really didn't even need to call for the clear because a patient was going to die anyway. So end of turn, this guy's going to go to the morgue. Now, if that happens, I don't refill the gurney right now, but I will be able to do my cleanup while I pass this to the next player. Once you've completed 3 rounds, of which I'm not sure if I mentioned earlier, but a round consists of going through an entire supply deck, in which case you start another round. You'll go round and round for 3 turns, and then at the end you will add up any of the positive values of the cards that are in your hospital, add in any additional points from here, deduct out any points from your morgue patients, and whoever has the most points is the winner. So that's a look at Paramedics Clear. Now, this is a high-stress game, and I almost wasn't sure if I even liked it from the beginning because it feels very overwhelming. And your first couple times getting used to the game, I recommend maybe just not doing the timer and just getting a feel for how you actually play a turn. Once you add in the timer, the stress immediately goes to 11, almost instantaneously, and it really works for the game. It captures the feeling of being a paramedic and being in that high-stress situation. And over time, as you get into each round, that stress level goes higher and higher. The artwork in the game is okay. I'm not too crazy about the patient cards themselves. They seem a little bland to me, but nothing that actually detracts from the gameplay itself. I did enjoy the little bit of take that's involved in the game, in that you get to choose a card to put into your opponent's backup gurney. And I think that really just adds a little bit of player interaction that otherwise wouldn't be here. The only other real player interaction in the game is the common area of supply cards that you can swap in and out of, and maybe there might be some strategy there in leaving cards that maybe you don't think your opponents will need. Another nice thing about the game is that you can actually vary the length of it. The game itself says it's about 30 to 40 minutes. I find if you play a full 3 rounds with 4 players, you're going to cross that 40-minute barrier. Even though we're talking 60 seconds, it just seems like it goes longer for some reason. But you can optionally decide to just maybe play 1 round of it, or 2 rounds, or 3 rounds if you wish. Overall, I'm still not 100% sold on the game. I do enjoy the game, but I find that after a game, I do not want to play this right away because I feel stressed missed out. I believe the designer kind of mentioned the game as kind of heart attack in a box, and that is what this is. So if you don't care for games that are high stress, high tension, and you have to move quickly, this is probably not going to be a game for you. One other small note about the game that bothered me slightly is the fact that they don't include a sand timer in the box. Now, the game does have a free app, and at this point, everyone has a cell phone for a timer or downloading the app, but I feel like I still would have liked 3 sand timers in the box, even though it might have lifted the cost just a little, just in case you don't have access to any other way to do the timer. Overall, I do recommend the game if you like high-stress, quick-playing games. If, on the other hand, you like your games with a little more thinky strategy and slower paced, and you like to take your time deciding what you want to do, this might not be the game for you. I hope you've enjoyed this look at Paramedics Clear, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.